Hey everybody, it's Mr. K. You can see that my background has kind of changed a little bit. I'm in a hotel in Great Falls, Montana right now, but I need to make sure I get you guys your lessons, so I'm doing this from my laptop and from my old webcam. So we'll be back in normal places for next week and for our meets, but for right now, this is what we got to deal with. This week, for we're going to start learning about music notation. Now, those aren't words you really need to know. Let's just say we're going to learn how to read music. So, to read music, we kind of have to start with the basics. And what better basics are there to use than the ABCs? Kind of like what we do for reading regular books, right? We have to read A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That's our alphabet. In music, we have an alphabet too. Alrighty, and it's almost the same as our current alphabet for reading, but instead of 26 letters, we use seven. Seven letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's it. There's no H, there's no J, there's no O, there's no S, there's no Y. Those aren't music letters, okay? A, B, C, D, E, F, G is the only seven that we use. Now, that doesn't mean that reading music gets easier. Alrighty, it's still a little bit of a pain because while we only have seven letters, we still have a whole lot of other stuff that we need to look at. Now, the first thing we're going to look at right now is something called the music staff.
Now, when we start learning about music and reading music, we have to learn about the staff. This is known as the music staff. You can see there are 5 lines: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 spaces: 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice I'm going from the bottom up. And this is because this is a big thing about music. We want to make sure that when we read music, everything starts from the bottom and works its way up. Okay? Now, these lines and spaces are essential for reading music because this is where we put our music alphabet. Remember, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These end up on these lines and spaces. So let's start off with our spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and put those in here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Okay, let's go ahead and put our letters in here. Now, they're not always linear when we're using just lines and just spaces. This time we're going to do just the spaces. Our bottom space is F. Okay, our second space is A. Our third space is, oh, come here. Haha, it wanted to come off, but it didn't. Third space is C. And our fourth space, our top space, is E. Now, if you look at this really close, you'll notice it spells a word. F-A-C-E means, or spells, face.
Now, we can do this on our hands too. Okay, so I've got 5 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, always from the bottom up. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So I can use my hand to remember where things are. F-A-C-E means there's a face in my spaces, right?
Now, the lines are a bit of a different story. All right, we still have, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have a 5, so we're just going to pretend that it's there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is our fifth line. The lines are a different story. If we start from the bottom, we have E. Our second line is G. Oop, come here. Our third line is B. Our fourth line is D. And our top line is F. Now, unlike when we have in our spaces, we have F-A-C-E, we have a word for our spaces. But this one, E-G-B-D-F, doesn't really spell much of anything. And what we can do there is we can try to think of a way to remember this. And what I learned when I was in school was E-G-B-D-F. E, every, G, good, B, boy, D, does, F, fine. So what I have, E, G, B, D, F, every good boy does fine. So that the first letter of every word I use for it is the first letter of my lines.
But there's ways we can remember E, G, B, D, F. And some of the easiest ways I've done is just to remember different words. So when I was in school many, many years ago, we learned every good boy does fine. E, G, B, D, F. So the first letter is a new word. E, every. G, good. B, boy. D, does. F, fine. Every good boy does fine. But we can make other ones. E, Elmo. G, goes. B, bonkers. D, during. F, football. Elmo goes bonkers during football. Well, that's one we can remember, right? Or some of you might have noticed that I have dragons all over my body. So, E, every. G, great. B, big. D, dragon. F, flies. Every great big dragon flies. That's what I use when I need to remember. And you can come up with your own as long as you remember it's the same order E, G, B, D, F. And if you can just go Egbaduf and that helps you remember, that's fine too. Sometimes that's what I use. But so we have to remember those E, G, B, D, F, and F, A, C, E. F, A, C, E in our spaces. Those are the most important ones that we need to know. So that's what we're starting with this week. Is trying to remember all of that. So I want you to practice that. And then in Quaver, you also have a lesson about music notation that adds a little bit more to what I'm doing. I really want you to remember that. And in our meets this week, that's what we're going to go over. And we're going to have an activity where I'll ask for it and you'll show it to me on your hands, okay? Excuse my yawn. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you in your meets soon. Bye, everybody.
I did make it home. It took a long time of driving, but I did make it home.